Michael. Such a pleasure to speak with you. I absolutely adored Better Man. And one
Uh,
thing I really admired was that the songs really show a passage of time taking place and are very much a metaphor for moving the story forward rather than just people breaking into song and dance, which is also, fine and fun. But I feel like the key to a good musical is that the songs are moving and propelling the story. Can you speak to just deploying that throughout the film and really mapping the music to these key moments in Robbie's life?
yeah, great question, man. Yeah, it's so true. We would look at the narrative first always, and we never wrote into a song, not once. We sort of wrote the narrative and then looked at those sort of emotional highs and emotional lows, right? I always say you sing when words no longer suffice. And so they tend to be moments of extreme joy or the depths of despair, like I can't articulate this in any other way, so I'm going to sing. And I think that then we just would go through Rob's catalog and say, what's lyrically leaning into this feeling, this idea? Um, he's spiraling out of control. He's just got kicked out of the band. Come undone. Like lyrically, that tells me everything that's going on inside the guy's head. And that is the joy of musicals, right? The joy of musicals is that you get to articulate what's going on inside someone. And so they can verbalize it. And then, you know, uh, at the end, when he gets through recovery, better man, and as my soul heals the pain, I will grow through this shame. Like all of this lyrically sort of, made sense. Um, Rock DJ was just a straight out moment of euphoria. So we were like, well, let's not lean into the words as much as just the feeling of celebration. And I think you can get away with that. It's like Hot Lunch in Fame. That song doesn't tell you anything, but it's the iconic song that they dance out onto the street and on top of the taxi. So I think you get away with leaning into just pure emotion. Um, but I think everything else should sort of speak to, feel. I want to feel real love as his dad leaves him. She's the one when he meets Nicole. Like it's sort of yeah. When you look at it, it is all very narrative based.
Yeah, you mentioned leaning into like elation and despair, and the montage for "She's the One" touches on both. When I watched the film on the first time, it just absolutely broke me when it got to like the scene about the abortion and everything. That was the first of a couple times you got me to cry during the film. Could you speak to using the same song to convey, both pure elation and love, and then also heartbreak?
And Tyler, that's a freaking great question. I haven't had that one, and I've done a lot of these. That's really no, because it's what's really interesting, and you sort of picked up on that, which is what's amazing is on a song in real time, he's falling in love, and that's what She's the One is. And then you contrast that by jumping ahead in time. And, obviously the reference point was Up, which has the most beautiful, um, you sort of watch an entire relationship between two people play out in minutes. And yet it couldn't be more moving or more informative. And it sets up the entire film and makes us just care deeply. And so, this was a bit different in that we had a real-time moment, him meeting Nicole and falling in love over the course of a night. And then we were transitioning forward in time um, to moments in their life. And those moments, become quite dramatic and heartbreaking. And so what's great about that is that there's something really powerful about the contrast of joy coupled with tragedy. And 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 by the end of the song, it's a conflicting feeling that you have because you go, I'm so happy that he's found this girl and they both have fallen in love. and I feel so much for them because I know what they have in front of them. And yeah, and again, that was just through a process of that's the song out of every song, the one that we iterated on the most. It's the one we edited the most. It's the one that we tried different ideas the most. And you know, in rehearsal, we just kept Ashley Wallen and Jenny Griffin, the assistant choreographer, just kept dancing it out again and again and again. Um, but the contrast of the music playing these sort of big, sort of sweeping strings, and you know, and cutting back to the smiles on their faces with the contrast of what the two of them are going to be confronted with in the future. It's yeah, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, and it's such a beautiful duet as well. And one thing that also strikes me about the film is just sometimes when the actual person that the biopic is about is involved, sometimes they want to shy away from flaws and gloss over things. But Robbie's been just so open, and you see this in this film. You know, you see a lot of positive traits, but you also see, you know, all of his failures, and he's really willing to go there and show his growth and flaws. It just makes for such a more personal and interesting portrait, even though it's, you know, ape in the film. It feels so human because of that. Can you speak to just his openness to allow you to go anywhere in his life and even the negatives?
Yeah, I agree. I think it is the power of the film. The power of the film isn't the conceit. The power of the film is being able to tell something that is so unfiltered that it becomes way more human. Because, you know, you and I, when you watch the film about the rock god who is flawless, you go, well, I can't relate to that. But when you watch it about someone who has self-loathing and doubts and you know, struggles and says things that they regret, that is incredibly relatable. You know, we've all said things we wish we didn't. We've all done things we wish we hadn't. And we can all look back on those moments where we've failed. And so there's something unbelievably human about that portrayal. And, you know, credit to Rob. It's one thing to sign off on a script and say, yeah, okay, you can tell these stories about me. It's another thing to watch it large on screen. It's quite confronting. And I was terrified that after Rob watched the film that he was going to make us cut certain scenes. I really was. Um, you know, and even having gone on this journey with him for 6 years, I was completely convinced he was just going to be like, Michael, that's too much, you know. And he didn't. He didn't cut a single shot from this film.